Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. It's good to see some familiar people on the call today. It almost feels like I'm not in isolation anymore. And welcome to some new attendees to the first of our webinars in this, this strange period. Despite all of Hollywood's love of various dystopian themes about pandemics, no one would have predicted the world we face today. But technology enables us to keep talking, and we're here now to talk about Disney's ongoing rollout of Disney Plus. I would say unquestionably the biggest direct-to-consumer content owner play there is right now in the world. Just a few admin points. Following this webinar, you'll get an email with links to both the presentation from today and also access to the video. Given the compact nature of this session in terms of timing, we'll wait to the end and see if there's an opportunity to take questions. Really through the chat on Zoom is probably the best way to do it, and feel free to send them through during the process, and we'll pick them up when we can. Just by way of introduction, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jack Davison. I'm the EVP at 3Vision. I've been at 3Vision for a long time now, over 10 years. We are a consultancy firm in the world of content that supports businesses across the whole sector with their challenges with content. We use our practical experience and real life case studies to offer support through strategic support, research to numerous businesses. And we also have teams supporting services throughout primarily EMEA as they use their experience and knowledge to secure content deals and develop their offers. We cut across all sectors, optimizing content offers for the service providers, making sure and helping kind of distributors and producers kind of cut through this rapidly changing world and fulfill the potential of their content, and in a more kind of more specific way, working with a lot of technology providers to make sure and help them engage with the content industry in the best of ways. But today it's relatively straightforward what we're here to talk about. We all know what Disney Plus is. It's the subscription video on demand service of the Walt Disney Company. We're talking about it today because following the late 2019 launch, they've now rolled out in additional markets in Western Europe, the biggest markets, and then also in India, which you should probably describe as one of the biggest prospects for media companies in the world. Nobody expected us to be talking about this in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, but this is undoubtedly going to impact us all across the industry. And for Disney, the launch was delayed in France and India. It now has launched, and along with others in Europe, reduced their bandwidth. But social isolation is encouraging all forms of video viewing. And it may be that streamers will capitalize more on this than free TV broadcasters, as the broadcasters are suffering from the advertisers leaving the market just when they have many more impacts to sell. We'll spend more time in the future talking about the longer term impacts of the pandemic and how it may accelerate change in the industry. But all services, including Disney Plus, will be looking at the challenges ahead that this creates for them. But short term, the prospects are strong for streamers with socialization and people using services more. But production delays may prove to be a critical issue that will hinder the flow of content for them. Broadcasters may feel that pain faster, but the issue will be there for streamers in time. Disney is particularly reliant on fresh new content and originals, meaning the pressure will be on to ensure that content keeps flowing, especially towards the end of the year when you think that the anniversary of the US launch is in November, when a lot of consumers will be rolling over their annual subscription, so that they won't want the service to be suffering at that point. Their US performance really has been hugely successful in many different terms. In 24 hours, they signed up 10 million subscribers. By year end, they had 26 million. And by February, which is 12 weeks from launch, they secured 29 million subscribers. This is greater than the original 2024 US forecast, which was 20 million. And it proves the qualitative value and strength of Disney and the Disney brand in the US. But international is a big part of their plan, and it's a very different challenge to the US. It's worth remembering for us outside of that market that the context they sit in within the US with ESPN, their sports network, with ABC, their free TV network, with their Hulu SVOD service, with Hulu's virtual pay TV, and the many other areas of their business. The parks alone have an average annual attendance of over 50 million visitors, and they already have a one-to-one relationship with many millions of Americans, whereas internationally that relationship and that story is different. But the business plan for Disney Plus has 2/3 of its overall subs coming from international. In the app world, the story is also positive. Across Android and iOS apps, Disney Plus was the biggest story of the year. It instantly became the biggest app in download terms, with around 30 million downloads in the quarter, and they only started in November. And at 30 million, it's more than double the next closest app, which was TikTok. Comparing with other SVOD apps is not ideal, as the market's changed a lot if you're looking backwards in time, and it is only one measurement, but the chart on the right-hand side here illustrates how Disney Plus outperformed other SVOD apps by so many multiples when you compare the top month of performance in terms of downloads of the other apps. It is a very different market, but it does illustrate the instant impact they were able to make. The service is priced incredibly competitively. I think probably you're all aware of this. In some ways, reflecting the smaller content volume, Disney are priced at $5.99 in the UK, and in Euro terms, $6.99 in continental Europe. Pricing chart we've got here is the UK chart. As you can see here with the chart for UK SVOD services, it's over 30% cheaper than the Netflix standard plan. But this is on parity with Netflix's most basic option, where you're limited to one stream, and Amazon Prime without shipping. Disney Plus itself is priced at only one level, with UHD and 4 screens included in that one basic price point. Disney, like Netflix and other SVOD players, have all appreciated the value of distribution relationships. They also clearly appreciate the value of the direct relationship with the consumers, but the strategic importance to them all is becoming more and more apparent, and it's critically important. And Disney have shown already a significant amount of flexibility. And as the whole pay TV and communication market continues to evolve, we're looking more at what this means for aggregators of the future and the re-aggregation of services by operators. Disney are illustrating that whilst having a D2C relationship is key, there are different ways to work with operators. Some are much closer to old-fashioned pay TV, some are reseller relationships, and then there are hybrid mixed models. Canal has the exclusive right to bundle Disney Plus in the French market, and it's doing that with lots of different options and lots of different packages, which they launched today. Along with that pack bundling, they can also resell these to IPTV third-party platforms, which is an important component of the French market. In France, Disney can still make its app available elsewhere, though without full integration and without billing handoff. As with Canal in France, Movistar in Spain have integrated Disney Plus into various packs into their Fusion communication service bundles. And for a promotional period, they've also included it in one of their movie packs. Deutsche Telekom and Telecom Italia have both discounted the service on a long-term basis with different bundles of communication services. And they've also extended various free promotional periods as well, not just the long-term discounting options. O2 in the UK is a straightforward mobile telco partner in the UK, offering free promotional periods and some longer-term discount offers. And then there's Sky. Sky has a non-exclusive distribution relationship with no bundling of Disney Plus. The partnership coincided with Sky retaining the non-exclusive right to Disney movies in their cinema pack, along with renewing their Fox Pay One movie deal. Although with both of those, the duration of those agreements is not known. Whilst there is no bundling, the service is well placed within the Sky Q interface. And I think we shouldn't mistake the lack of bundling and the non-exclusivity of this arrangement for something that is a lower level of integration. Discovery, search, and recommendation is becoming even more of an issue in the world today with the fragmented market and the number of services. And it wasn't that long ago that people, certainly in the UK, were bidding for much better positions on TV program guides and spending a lot of money on that. Sky's integration is pointing the way, really, to how leading streamers will need to integrate, albeit content here is only re-aggregated into the UI and not into the packaging. Canal, though, it's interesting. This is I think the completeness of their packaging and where Disney Plus appears. And you can see here on the left the number of different packs where Disney Plus can appear, and you see the level of effort they've gone to integrate it. Cine Series Plus now is a remarkable kind of re-aggregation of scripted content services. It includes, amongst others, the Canal Plus series and cinema services, Disney Plus, Netflix, OCS, Paramount Channel, Fox Play, Sundance, TCM, Siri Club, and Warner TV. I think I may have missed a few, but it has a remarkable amount of content within it. Disney have also been using relatively uniquely the promotional value of broadcast channels as they've launched the service in markets. But they've gone beyond what they did in the US with their own channels, and they've worked with third parties channels in France and Germany. In France, perhaps that makes more sense given the relationship they have with Canal. But in Germany, they offered a free TV premiere of the first episode of The Mandalorian just before launch on ProSieben in a prime time kind of Sunday evening slot. Typically, we view these kind of teasers with a bit of caution, given they're known to drive frustration for free TV users, but no doubt it will succeed in supporting significant awareness growth. The rollout will continue. Asia will follow towards the end of the year, and Latin America is not coming until 2021. Disney have just announced that they're not planning on launching in the Middle East region in the near future, but will license its original content instead exclusively to the regional pay TV and now streaming firm OSN. And this shows, again, a pragmatism that was there when they renewed a deal in Latin America with Amazon for their movies that till the end of 2020 for film titles, choosing the best path really to monetize their content. There's no real clarity yet on African markets. There's been some rumors and suggestion it may come at the end in October 2021, but you can expect they will continue to show flexibility, perhaps even with how they structure and price the service. Although it was influenced by the pre-existing service they had there in the market, that's also true in India. Disney's purchase of Star India's parent company, Fox, has led to the strategy of launching Disney Plus within the market as Disney Plus Hotstar. It's through Hotstar that they've launched it. Launch was delayed, and it's launched ahead now. And with it, unique to any other market, the content has split between two tiers, which is a result of merging into the pre-existing Hotstar tier structure, with Hotstar having already an AVOD service and two tiers of SVOD, the VIP tier, which is the basic tier, and the VIP premium. The yearly subscription cost of VIP Premium has been raised to 1,500 rupees, which is only $20 for the annual subscription. And that's up from about 1,000 rupees. At the basic tier, the Disney Hotstar VIP tier costs 400 rupees, which is only $5.30. Basic includes the movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It includes access to the sports events and the catalogue of movies and of library movies and shows, and original shows produced by Hotstar, but it does not include the Disney Plus originals. The premium tier will continue to offer shows from HBO, from Fox, from Showtime, and now will include all of Disney Plus's originals. And it will be interesting to see how that progresses with Warner Media and their HBO Max activity. But Hotstar VIP Premium now has an abundance of international content. device approach is pretty logical. Disney have always been very clear about wanting to create an excellent app, but they've been going for the widest reach and availability, including kind of the strategically well-placed initiatives we've just sort of seen with devices such as Sky's set-top box. They're working hard to get this experience as high as possible, leveraging all the experience they have from Bantech, the streaming tech company they fully bought finally by in 2017. But you could describe the features and allowances here as generous in comparison to other streamers who are typically more restrictive, maybe in terms of streams, certainly for something at the level of pricing that we saw. I guess probably the most common question around Disney Plus is whether they have the content and whether the content can compete with Netflix, because comparisons are easy to make and easy to make in volume terms to make Disney look poor. But the early content plan shown here on the left made much of the originals focus, with the combination of originals and Disney's kind of strong catalogue creating a kind of a smaller volume but a higher quality proposition. Disney's practice of locking away the crown jewels in the Disney vault was ended. The library is very strong and one to be proud of, although having a significant family skew. There's some concern over the kind of high dependency on that back catalogue and the need to grow originals. But in numbers terms, it probably doesn't make sense to compare the originals budget with others. Often you'll see people compare 15 billion worth of Netflix budget or 6 billion of Apple budget, but the number doesn't tell the whole story. Whilst the original budget is small, we shouldn't forget kind of not just the value of the library, but Disney's actual annual content spend, not counting sport, is closer to about $16 billion. And in addition to what they have here, you've got to factor their ability to funnel content from other areas. Specifically, these numbers don't include feature film product, and this chart just looks at the movie content on the UK service, just illustrating really in terms of recency and the strength of the newer product. It is going to be an important part of Disney's offering. They consistently hold the largest share of the annual box office. They have 14 of the top 20 movies of all time performance at the box office, and you can see that kind of over a quarter of the UK library are from the last decade, and it will be very strong. And the content funnel at its widest can include all Disney-owned shows and movies that hit the TV channels and hit the movie theatres at some point. The actual content offer across the markets are very similar, really. The variations are based on pre-existing licensing deals. Most notably is probably the fact that in the US, Netflix has a lot of the titles still on the service. Also distribution partnerships where they've been sharing content with Sky, for example, getting co-exclusivity of the Disney films and The Simpsons. And then local regulation with some of the French laws likely to have an impact on what they can release and perhaps change what type of relationship they may have with Canal. But all the markets are broadly similar. And whilst the EST and the Blu-ray window will stay largely intact, the company is able to disrupt it. We're seeing that now, but it's brought about by the exceptional circumstances we find ourselves in, where they're playing with release windows at the moment for necessity more than as an actual planned process. But this actually just illustrates the lever they have with film releases, whilst not yet indicating what long-term may happen. Frozen 2 and Onward have both had their Disney Plus dates moved up in the US and other markets. Artemis Fowl is their latest kind of change to release patterns. They've moved lots of their tentpole releases to unspecified kind of cinema release dates. They maintain they're still going to release them at the cinema when they can. But they announced that Artemis Fowl, which was on that theatrical release list, would actually become an exclusive release on Disney Plus instead. There's very little volume curation past, omitting titles that haven't culturally aged well in the catalogue, and very little sign of any localization to date. It's not addressed yet, and that will be one of the challenges to watch, along with the production freezes as we go ahead. Their plan is to launch all of their Disney branded content on the service, but what they do with third-party content, we will need to wait and see. A question before the production challenges was what they would do with beyond the pipeline of their own content to maintain appeal and prevent churn. And this is an issue that all SVODs are facing and will be facing this year, especially as Netflix had their first negative quarter last year. But for Disney, it's really when will they move into third-party acquisitions. We know they've got some of the Fox content appearing, The Simpsons, and we know they'll be working hard maybe to secure Spider-Man from Sony. And we know they may face some regulatory conditions that will force their approach in terms of doing this. Well, to wrap up now, I'm a little bit over. Disney are in a very unique position globally as they roll their service out. Their current and evolving relationship in the pay TV ecosystem, their brands, their library, it all means that they can inject competition into the streaming market in a very different and very significant way. Every type of video service is going to need to weather the production challenges that the industry faces today. But you would think that Disney and actually the other global streamers are probably as well placed as anybody, and probably the best placed of anybody to face up to this. There's going to be a hiatus before investors will get the chance to express their views on how well the service is doing. And whilst early US success is positive, the challenge internationally will be very different. Thank you for listening. Please do reach out if we can help in any way. Join us on our next webinar on the 23rd, covering 5 different themes. I'll just take a look. Those of you who can stay on, I'll just take a look and see what questions we've had in on the chat to see what there may be. But we've got some questions really regarding India. I mean, as we said, it was a interesting launch in India, driven by the pre-existing service Hotstar, which is in an incredibly strong position in the Indian market. Cost of services there is so cheap, but the strength of local content is uniquely incredibly strong. So they have to live within that environment as well. We'll see in terms of the pay and promo side of things from one of your questions in terms of any sense of paying subs versus those taking promotions and churning off. I mean, that is going to be a very interesting one to follow. You could probably spend some time plotting the 12-month offers in the US, certainly with Verizon, the 6 in Germany, I think the 6 in UK, and see it will undoubtedly cause a lot of movement, as there always is in the SVOD market. Do I see Quibi having an impact on the share of wallet, share of consumer? No, is my straight answer to that one. I'm looking forward to seeing how Quibi do, how innovative they can be with short form. I think they have a very high, long climb, and they are very well backed, but I think they are going to face a big challenge. They could impact specifically for that very tight segment, but I think Quibi is trying to cross and create a world that crosses between the free market and the SVOD market, and could be quite challenging. But there's more to it than that, obviously. I'm not sure about any other broadcast promos. We haven't seen any other ones other than the Canal and the ProSieben, but we will be keeping an eye out for those. And we'll be having a look actually in the markets. We're trying to keep track of how well they did and what the feedback was in those markets, because we know previous initiatives where one show has been broadcast on linear and then the remainder goes somewhere else on digital, even when it's not behind a paywall, has created problems. But we'll see. Let's see, other questions. The number of simultaneous streams is 4, we understand, yes. Netflix only offer 1 simultaneous stream at the basic level, which is equivalent to the Disney level, as we understand it. So where they are on pricing equity in terms of the subscription, Disney have a far greater gift in terms of streams and other features. Central and Eastern Europe. No, I don't know when that launch is going to be. We'll from the Czech Republic. We'll keep an eye out and update that. But it's not clear in the plan. I don't think I heard anything about that. Would I do a webinar on Quibbity? We will be keeping up on Quibi, so it's good to hear of your interest to that. So we appreciate feedback on what people are interested in. We have actually done Quibi insights in the past, so you could, if you're interested in seeing those, even though they're from a while ago, they're actually not entirely dated. So and we'd happily share those. So get in touch with us afterwards and about that. And LATAM, no more to say really. I think that the LATAM market is going to be a fascinating one. Obviously, they're not launching till the list in front of me. I think 2021. It's a later market, but what with HBO, no doubt having strong ambitions in that market as they're well placed already. Disney will also be looking to grow there, and actually Latin America has been a very although it suffers macroeconomically and from cyclical ups and downs, it has done fairly well for the SVOD players. So nothing much else to say there. Do I think that ESPN Hulu will come within the proposition or a standalone brand? I find it hard to see how ESPN, who have had initiatives in the past and that have worked only in different levels and different ways, how they could work with ESPN. I think the big question is Hulu and is what they do with the FX style content and that sort of content that doesn't fit within the Disney brand. And I certainly couldn't see it being subsumed completely by the Disney brand. I think it would have to sit out somehow standalone. And a couple more questions for you. HBO Max or Disney Plus, who will take the early lead in the US come the end of 2020? Good question from a Warner Media alumni. I think that's a tricky one. They are such different segments. Well, I'm sure HBO. I know HBO Max has in different parts of it segments that will cross over to Disney. I think it's too hard to say. But HBO obviously have a product in HBO Now and also in its cable products, and Disney Plus might be out first with this new service in HBO Max. But I think it's going to be interesting. But I think, as always, it's not a zero-sum game. I think we all know there's going to be a multiplicity of services with consumers. So I could pick that up with you another time. I think we've got a couple more questions. I think, and then we'll wrap up. Are we seeing more churn from platforms? I think the pay TV market is in a very challenging time. Not least the fact it's about to enter an even harder time as people's wallets are hurting and affordability is going to become even more of a question. I think there's been a lot of, it depends, I think you can't answer that question globally. I think in different markets and in different regions, pay TV is hurting more. I think they're going to struggle to find growth in their current format in many markets, and they need to innovate, need to get skinnier, need to get better value. Otherwise they are going to hurt more from the Disney Pluses. But we also feel that these guys have got a role to play in terms of helping the consumers with the multiplicity of services like Disney Plus and like the reaggregation of services that you're seeing people like Canal and to a lesser extent Sky doing. Yeah, how will Disney affect the competition? Good question. I think it's undoubtedly going to lead to some switching, but there's also going to be, I think, some incremental growth. There was some evidence in the US that their growth wasn't actually impacting the overall size of the SVOD market. I think it was probably too early for that to really be analysed fully. But I think there's going to be a bit of a mixture there. It's going to be up and down. Okay. Do you think that one day will you be able to get everything at once? I think it's probably going to be an impossible vision for someone to be able to get everything in one place. But I think that there will be much more aggregation of these services, making life simpler. And I think there's often a discussion about who will win, who will be the aggregator of the future. And I think there won't be one winner. I think Apple will have some strength in an iOS world, but Apple has 1.5 billion touch points on iOS, and Android has over 7, I think. But then there's other players in the world. There's pay TV operators, there's Roku, there's the smart TV manufacturers. They'll all play a role. But I think there's no one yet has stepped up to the challenge of answering all of the search and discovery and recommendation and usability, but there is a need there. AVOD question. Well, I think we probably haven't got long enough to cover AVOD, but we are going to cover that in our webinar on the 23rd. How will that market affect pay TV? I think AVOD there's a huge amount of excitement and hype around AVOD. There has been a lot of growth and a lot of interest with a lot of traditional media players coming in and buying up, which is always gets the world even more excited about AVOD. But also there's been some good revenues being generated by the distributors and the licensors, but by services, particularly in the US, with the likes of Roku, Pluto, Zumo, Samsung TV Plus and others. The easy thing to say is that it's probably going to hit the free TV market earlier than it's going to hit the pay TV market. But it would be naive to think that kind of it won't still viewing from everywhere. But I think the tougher part of the question that we can't answer now is that there are many different types of AVOD. A lot of it is coming through Google and Facebook. But then the rest of it can be coming through specialists like Roku and Pluto, or the broadcasters themselves with BVOD, kind of broadcaster video on demand, that being kind of catch up really, being a big grower. It's growing from a low level, but it grew, I think in the UK, it grew 30% in revenue terms last year. And I think they've just released another number on that that's suggesting it's doing even better. So I think you can't ignore the traditional media involvement in that to see how that's going to grow. I think that's it for questions. Thank you very much, everybody, for being involved. It's been great to see, albeit by name, on an attendee list, a lot of familiar faces. I wish you all good health, and I hope you keep managing to work and live in these strange and troubling times. But that's it for now. Take care.